The morning Maya Rivera moved into apartment 4B on Crescent Street. It rained so hard the gutters overflowed and the cardboard boxes she'd carefully labeled kitchen, books. Things I can't throw away but probably should turn soggy at the corners before she even got them through the front door. She stood in the hallway dripping, holding a lamp she hadn't wrapped properly, staring at the door of her new apartment with a key that kept slipping in her wet fingers. And she thought, this is either a very bad omen or just Tuesday in November. It was a Wednesday. Here, said a voice behind her. Maya turned. A girl, no. A woman, maybe 24 or 25, stood in the doorway of the apartment across the hall, holding a towel out like it was the most natural thing in the world to offer a soaking stranger. She had dark brown hair pulled into a messy bun, the kind that looked effortless but probably wasn't, and she was wearing an oversized university sweatshirt and paint-stained sweatpants. There was a small smear of blue paint on her left cheekbone that she clearly didn't know about. You look like you swam here, the woman said. I might have, Maya said. She took the towel. Thank you. I'm Maya. I'm moving in across the hall. I know, Mrs. Hernandez told me. The woman leaned against her doorframe. I'm Sloane. Sloane Avery. I've lived here 2 years. The hot water takes exactly 4 minutes to warm up. The elevator is broken every third Tuesday for reasons nobody has ever been able to explain. And the guy in for plays acoustic guitar at 11 p.m. every Friday, but he's actually good, so you learn to either hate him or love him. Maya blinked. That's a lot of information. I wish someone had given it to me when I moved in. Sloane nodded toward the boxes stacked in the hallway. Do you need help? You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Sloane was already picking up a box. She looked at the label. Books, of course. These are always the heaviest. Maya watched her carry the box inside with the easy confidence of someone who had decided something and wasn't going to debate it. And she thought, I like her already. I should be careful about that. They spent 2 hours moving boxes in from the rain. Sloane made coffee strong, dark, exactly the way Maya liked it without being asked, and they sat on the floor of Maya's empty living room, surrounded by damp cardboard and the smell of wet paper, drinking from mismatched mugs Sloane had brought from across the hall. So, what do you do? Sloane asked. I'm a copywriter. For an agency downtown. Words for brands who can't find their own. Maya wrapped both hands around her mug. It sounds more glamorous than it is. Most things do. What about you? The pain. Maya gestured at her own cheek, indicating the smear on Sloane's. Sloane touched her face, found it, rubbed at it with the sleeve of her sweatshirt. Artist. Technically. I also waitress 4 nights a week at the Lantern on 5th because art doesn't pay rent. She said it without bitterness, just fact. But it's what I do. It's what I am, I guess. Have I seen your work anywhere? Probably not. I had a small show at the Meridian Gallery in September. Mostly it's Instagram and commissions and hope. She said hope the way people say it. When they've made peace with its unreliability, Maya looked at her over the rim of her coffee mug. In the gray November light coming through the window, Sloane's profile was striking, strong jaw, dark lashes. The kind of face that would look interesting in any light. Maya noticed this the way she always noticed beautiful things, quickly, quietly. And then she put it somewhere safe inside herself and didn't look at it directly. She'd had practice at that. I'm glad you were home, Maya said. When I got here. Sloane turned to look at her. Something in her expression softened. Yeah, she said. Me too. They became friends the way people sometimes do when they live close enough to each other that the boundary between acquaintance and friend wears thin from use. It started with small things. Sloane knocked on Maya's door with leftover pasta on a Tuesday because she'd made too much. Maya knocked on Sloane's door the following Thursday with a question about the Wi-Fi password that turned into a 2-hour conversation about whether it was possible to be homesick for a place you'd never actually been happy in. They discovered they both hated the sound of the building's heating system, a low mechanical groan that started at 3 in the morning, and texted each other about it at 3:07 a.m. like old friends. There it is again. Sloane texted. It sounds like the building is suffering. Maya texted back. Maybe it is. It's a very old building. Should we be concerned? I've been concerned for 2 years. It hasn't helped that Maya laughed alone in her dark bedroom and felt something settle in her chest. The particular comfort of knowing there was someone on the other side of a wall who was awake and also a little bit amused by the same things she was. She was 30 years old. She had lived alone for 6 years, by choice, mostly, after a series of living situations that had taught her she was not naturally good at the particular vulnerability of shared space. She'd had roommates in her 20s who borrowed things without asking, and played music through thin walls and had long phone calls with their mothers at 7 in the morning. And she had told herself that solitude was a preference, not a wound. Meeting Sloane made her wonder which it actually was by December. They had a routine, Friday evenings, if Sloane wasn't working at the Lantern. She came to Maya's apartment and they ordered food Thai, usually, or the pizza from the place on the corner that was inconsistent but occasionally transcendent, and watched something on Maya's laptop. Sloane always brought wine. Maya always picked the movie and immediately regretted it halfway through. Sloane always said the movie was good even when it wasn't, which Maya found both annoying and endearing. "You don't have to say you like it," Maya said one night, after a film that had gone badly off the rails in the third act. "I did like it. The ending made no sense." "A lot of things don't make sense," Sloane said serenely, refilling her glass. "I still like them." Maya looked at her. Sloane was sitting with her back against the couch, legs stretched out on the rug, completely at ease in a way that Maya found slightly remarkable. She moved through the world with a kind of unhurried comfort that Maya had always associated with people who had figured something out, not necessarily something big. "Just something enough. Can I ask you something?" Maya said. "You can always ask me something." "Are you this at ease with everyone or just me?" Sloane considered this seriously. "Not everyone," she said. "Some people make me work for it." "You never did. Why not?" "I don't know." "You felt familiar." She said it simply, without performing it. "Like I'd already met you somehow." Maya felt the warmth of that move through her quietly, carefully, like heat through a wall. "Yeah," she said. Same. Maya Rivera had known she was gay since she was 17 years old. Sitting in the back of a movie theater watching a film she couldn't now remember. Acutely aware of the girl next to her, the warmth of her shoulder, the smell of her shampoo, in a way she had never been aware of the boys who sat next to her in the same theater on different nights. She told her mother first. Her mother had said, "I know, Mia," in the tone of someone who had known for years and was merely waiting to be informed. She told her friends in college, one by one, mostly to find that they already knew or didn't care, or both. She dated women, 2 serious relationships, a handful of less serious ones, and had built a life that was, by any reasonable measure, comfortable with itself. She wasn't in the closet. She wasn't confused. She wasn't waiting for anything. What she was, if she was honest, was lonely in the specific way that comes from being mostly fine from having a life that looked good from the outside. That was good from the outside, but that was missing something she couldn't precisely name. Something that had been missing long enough that she'd stopped actively looking for it and just carried the absence around with her the way you carry an old injury. You don't notice it all the time, but it changes the way you move. She had not told Sloane she was gay. Not because she was hiding it, but because it hadn't come up in the natural way of things yet, and she was in no hurry. Sloane knew, probably, the way people sometimes just know things. Or maybe she didn't. It didn't matter. What mattered was the friendship, which Maya valued with the particular fierceness of someone who had learned not to take good things for granted. She was careful not to want more than that. She was mostly successful. It was a Sunday in late January. Cold enough that neither of them wanted to go anywhere. And they were in Sloane's apartment for a change. Sloane's apartment was everything Maya's was not. Organized chaos. Canvases stacked against every wall, jars of brushes on every surface. The smell of linseed oil and coffee, and the faint sweetness of the apple candle she burned on the windowsill. It felt like being inside someone's mind. Maya liked it enormously. She sat on Sloane's paint-spattered couch with a book she wasn't really reading well. Sloane stood at her easel working on something large and abstract in shades of blue and green. The kind of painting that looked like deep water from far away and like nothing specific up close. They'd been quiet for an hour. It was a comfortable quiet. Maya had started to think that comfort with silence was one of the best things you could have with another person, and Sloane gave her that without trying. Can I ask you something weird? Sloane said without turning from her painting. Sure. A pause. The soft sound of a brush against canvas. What does a woman taste like? Maya looked up from her book slowly. The question had been asked in a completely conversational tone, the tone Sloane used for everything, but it landed somewhere in Maya's chest with a weight that surprised her. What? She said. Sloane turned from the easel. She had paint on her hands cobalt blue, and she looked at Maya with the open, earnest expression she always wore when she was genuinely curious about something, which was often. I've been thinking about it, Sloane said. I've been thinking about a lot of things. About what I want. About who I've wanted. She set her brush down on the palette. I've only ever been with men. And mostly I've been fine with that. But lately I've been wondering if fine is. She shook her head. I don't know how to ask this without it sounding weird. You already asked it, Maya said carefully. You asked what a woman tastes like, right? Sloane met her eyes. And you're the only person I know who could actually answer that. The silence stretched between them. Maya felt it like a physical thing, like the space before sound. Why now? Maya asked. What's been making you think about it? Sloane sat down on the other end of the couch, folding her legs under her, facing Maya with the full attention she always brought to conversations that mattered. There's this woman, she said. She comes into the Lantern every Thursday. She always sits at the corner table, always orders the same thing, sparkling water and the salmon, and she reads. Always a real book, never a phone. And every time I take her order I feel, she stopped. I feel something I don't usually feel. Something that's different from what I feel about men. Different how? Like it's more. Like there's more. She pressed her hands together, searching for the word. More attention in it. I notice everything about her. The way she holds her book. The way she pushes her hair back. I notice in a way that feels, I don't know. Like wanting. Maya was quiet for a moment. Outside, a car moved through the street below, its headlights sweeping briefly across the ceiling. That's wanting, Maya said gently. Yeah, Sloane looked at her. I know. A pause. So what does it taste like? A woman. I'm asking literally, but also she waved her paint-stained hand. Not literally. I mean, what's it like? To be with a woman. When you've grown up thinking it was only ever going to be something else. Maya looked at her roommate, her friend. Her good and careful friend, and felt the complicated warmth of being trusted with something real. It's like she thought about how to say this true. It's like the first time you read a book in your native language after years of reading translations. Everything is technically the same story, but something fits differently. Something lands where it's supposed to land. Sloane was very still listening. There's a tenderness to it, Maya said. Not because women are gentle, some aren't. I'm not always, but because there's a kind of knowing. You know the landscape because it's yours too. And there's something, she paused. Something about being seen. Really seen. By someone who understands you from the inside out. Sloane said nothing for a long moment. The apple candle flickered on the windowsill. I think I want that, Sloane said quietly. I think I've always wanted that, and I just didn't have words for it. You have words now, Maya said. Yes. Sloane looked at her. A look that lasted a half second too long, or maybe exactly as long as it needed to. I do. Everything after that Sunday was technically the same and practically different. They still had their Friday evenings. They still texted about the heating system at 3 in the morning. Sloane still brought wine, and Maya still picked movies she regretted. But there was something new in the air between them, something that hadn't been there before. Or had been there and unnamed and was now named but unacknowledged. Which is its own particular kind of tension. Maya was careful. She'd always been careful. It was her primary quality and sometimes her primary flaw. She had learned the hard way that caring too quickly, moving too directly towards something warm, could cost you the warmth entirely. She had learned to be patient with herself and with what she wanted. Increasingly, clearly, undeniably, was Sloane. Not just Sloane the friend. Though she wanted that too, wanted fiercely to protect that. To not do anything that would cost her the particular gift of Sloane in the hallway with a towel on a rainy November day. But also Sloane the way she was on her couch on Sunday afternoons, paint on her hands, utterly absorbed in something she was making. Sloane, the way she laughed suddenly, completely, like she hadn't planned to. Sloane, the way she'd asked that question, what does a woman taste like? With such honest curiosity that it had broken something open in Maya that she'd kept carefully closed. She didn't act on any of it. She was careful, but she noticed. Her name is Diana, Sloane reported on a Tuesday. Showing up at Maya's door with leftover risotto and a look on her face that Maya recognized as the beginning of something. The Thursday woman? She told me her name. She asked mine. Sloane came in, put the risotto on the counter, and turned to face Maya with the expression of someone who had just received unexpected and slightly disorienting news. And then she said she'd noticed I always recommend the sparkling water over the still, and she wondered why. What did you say? I said still water tastes like nothing and sparkling water tastes like itself. Sloane looked slightly amazed by her own answer. And she laughed. And the way she laughed, tell me, Maya said. Like she meant it. Like something had actually landed. Sloane sat on the kitchen counter, which was a habit Maya had given up trying to break in her. And then I went back to the kitchen and I stood by the past for a second and I thought, I want to know her. I want to know everything about her. She looked at Maya. Is that what it's supposed to feel like? I think that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. It's different. Sloane tilted her head. I've had crushes on men. This is bigger. Is that terrible to say? Like, there's more of it. It's not terrible. Some people find it's different. Some people find it's the same. I think it's different for you because you've been not letting yourself want it for a long time. And when you finally do, it comes in all at once. Sloane looked at her with something thoughtful and warm. You know a lot about this. I've lived inside it my whole life, right? A pause. Are you seeing anyone? The question came from nowhere and landed softly. Maya shook her head. Not for a while. How long is a while? About a year. She kept her voice easy. I needed to figure out what I actually wanted instead of what I was settling for. And did you? Maya held her gaze for a moment. Then she smiled. Working on it, she said. In February, Sloane got an email that made her scream. Maya heard it from across the hall and knocked on her door 30 seconds later. What happened? Are you okay? Sloane thrust her phone at her. On the screen was an email from someone named Carson Webb at a gallery Maya recognized, the Millbrook, a proper gallery. The kind with white walls and serious collectors and reviews and actual publications. We've been following your work online and would like to discuss including you in our spring group show, Sloane. Maya breathed. I know, Sloane said. She was bouncing slightly on the balls of her feet. Her eyes were bright. This is, I know. Sloane. This is, I know. She threw her arms around Maya. Maya hugged her back and felt the warmth of her, the solid, real, paint-smelling warmth of her, and held it carefully. This is going to change things for you, Maya said into her shoulder. Maybe. Sloane pulled back, keeping her hands on Maya's arms, looking at her with an expression Maya had never seen on her face before, something between joy and fear. The specific expression of a person standing at the edge of something they've wanted for a long time. I'm scared. Of what? Of it being real. Of wanting it so much. She squeezed Maya's arm slightly. What if they see my work in person and change their minds? They won't. You don't know that. I know your work, Maya said. I have been looking at it on your walls for 3 months. It's extraordinary, Sloane. It's the kind of work that stops people. Sloane's expression went soft. You've never said that before. I should have said it before. Maya met her eyes. It stops me. Every time. They looked at each other for a beat that held something in it. Something that trembled slightly at the edges. Then Sloane smiled wide and real and a little undone and said, Okay, come in, we're celebrating. I have champagne I've been saving for something that deserved it, and I think this deserves it. She disappeared into her apartment and Maya stood in the doorway for a moment. Breathing before she followed, they drank the champagne on Sloane's floor with the paintings around them like witnesses. And Sloane talked about art the way she rarely did, not the business of it. The Instagram and the commissions, but the thing of it, what it meant to her. What it was for. I paint what I can't say, she said. She was lying on her back now, glass balanced on her chest, looking up at the ceiling. Everything I can't figure out how to put in words goes in the paint. Maya was sitting with her back against the couch, looking at the large blue-green canvas across the room. "What's that one?" she asked, gesturing at it. "The one you've been working on all winter." Sloane turned her head to look at it without getting up. "I don't know yet. It's still becoming something." "What do you want it to become?" A long pause. "Something that tells the truth about what it feels like to stand at the beginning of something." She looked back at the ceiling. "Like you know that feeling? When you're on the edge of understanding something about yourself that you've been circling for a long time. That vertiginous feeling of it?" "Yeah," Maya said softly. "I know that feeling. That's what I'm trying to paint." They were quiet for a while. The champagne was almost gone. The city outside was doing its quiet late-night things, a distant siren, the rumble of the crosstown bus. "Can I ask you something?" Sloane said. "You can always ask me something." "Have you ever been in love?" Maya thought about it seriously. "Yes," she said. "Once, really. What happened?" "We wanted different things. It wasn't anyone's fault. We loved each other and it wasn't enough. And I think that was the most painful part, learning that love by itself isn't always sufficient. That there are other things you need too." "Like what?" "Like timing. Like wanting the same life. She paused. "Like being brave enough. Both of you. At the same time." Sloane turned her head to look at Maya, in the warm lamplight of the apartment. With the paintings all around them and the champagne glow and the late-night quiet, there was something very still and very open about her expression. "Are you brave enough now?" she asked. The question sat between them. Simple and enormous. "I'm trying to be," Maya said. Sloane held her gaze for a long, quiet moment. "Me too," she said. The Thursday woman Diana came back the following week, and the week after that. And by March she and Sloane had exchanged numbers. Sloane told Maya about this with a slightly dazed expression. Sitting at Maya's kitchen table while Maya made tea, turning her phone over and over in her hands. "She just asked," Sloane said. Very directly. "She said, I'd like to take you to coffee if that's something you'd want." Just like that. "What did you say?" "I said yes." She set the phone on the table. "Obviously I said yes. She's brilliant and beautiful and she looks at me like..." She stopped. "Like what?" Maya asked, keeping her back to Sloane, watching the kettle. "Like she sees me. Like really sees me." A pause. "That's what you said, isn't it? That's what it's like being with a woman. Being seen." "Yes," Maya said. Her voice was level. "I have coffee with her on Saturday." "I hope it's wonderful," Maya said. And meant it, and also felt something quiet and private move through her that she put away carefully. In the place she kept things she wasn't ready to look at. "Are you okay?" Sloane asked. "Of course." Maya turned from the kettle, carrying 2 mugs, her expression easy. "I'm happy for you." Sloane looked at her for a moment with those perceptive eyes that Maya had learned to be careful of. "You sure?" "I'm sure." She set Sloane's mug in front of her. "Tell me about the coffee. What are you going to wear?" The coffee was wonderful, apparently. Sloane came home Saturday afternoon with the particular radiance of a person who has spent 2 hours with someone who interests them deeply. And she knocked on Maya's door and said, "She's incredible. She's a marine biologist, Maya. She studies coral reef restoration. She spent 6 months in the Maldives." 6 months. And she talks about it like I talk about painting, like it's the most important thing in the world to her. "How did you feel?" Maya asked, terrified. Sloane laughed. Excited. Like I was learning a language really quickly. She leaned against the doorframe. She asked me if I'd ever been with a woman before. "What did you say?" "The truth. That I hadn't, but that I'd been thinking about it." She paused. She was kind about it. She said she appreciated honesty. "She sounds worth knowing," Maya said. "She is." A pause. "Are you sure you're okay?" "Sloane, I'm fine." Maya smiled. "I want good things for you." Sloane looked at her with a particular focus she turned on painting she was trying to understand. "Okay," she said. Then, quietly, "I want good things for you too, Maya. I mean that. I know you do. I'm not sure you do." But she said it gently, without pressure, and then let it go. Okay, dinner later? I'll cook. You always burn the onions. I'll try not to burn the onions. I'll come over and supervise the onions at 7. 7. Sloane agreed. The Millbrook Gallery Spring Group show opened on the 15th of March. And Sloane had 3 paintings included. Maya had seen the paintings in their raw states on Sloane's walls. She had not seen them finished, framed, lit properly. Hanging in a white room with space around them and strangers. Standing in front of them saying things, she was not prepared for how it felt. The 3 pieces were hung together, in a corner of the gallery, and they were unmistakably Sloane's. The language was consistent. That layered quality, colors building on colors. Depth that wasn't photographic but was somehow realer than photography. But finished and framed and lit, they had a weight that Maya hadn't fully felt in the studio. The large blue-green one was there. The one that Sloane had said was about standing at the beginning of something. Framed and titled, the title was Threshold. It stopped Maya in the middle of the gallery floor, and held her there. She stood in front of it. For a long time. You stopped, said Sloane's voice beside her. Maya turned. Sloane was in a black dress that Maya had never seen before, hair loose for once, and she looked. Maya took a slow, quiet breath. She looked extraordinary. You said this was about vertigo, Maya said. About the beginning, yes. It's about something else too, isn't it? Maya looked back at the painting. It's about wanting something and not quite letting yourself have it. A beat of silence. Yes, Sloane said softly. Maya turned to look at her. They were standing close, the way the gallery crowd had pushed them. And in the particular quiet they'd carved out of the noise around them. Sloane was looking at her with an expression that Maya couldn't entirely read and also couldn't look away from. It's beautiful, Maya said. Everything you make is beautiful, Maya. Sloane started. There you are. A woman appeared at Sloane's elbow. The gallery owner, Carson Webb. A tall woman with silver hair and an expression of pleased possession. The collector from the Hendricks Group wants to talk about the Threshold piece. Come. Sloane was pulled away. She looked back at Maya once over her shoulder. A look that said, wait or we'll finish this, or something. Maya filed carefully into the place she kept important things. Maya stayed in front of Threshold a little longer, then she went to get a glass of wine and told herself to be patient and brave, and not to want things she wasn't sure she could have. She was only partially successful. Diana came to the show. Maya had known she would. Sloane had mentioned it casually while they were getting ready in their respective apartments with their doors open. The way they'd started doing, calling things back and forth across the hall. Dinah was coming and Sloane was nervous about it and had asked Maya 3 times if her dress was right. Diana turned out to be everything Sloane had described. Marine biologist energy. Which is to say a specific kind of confidence that came from spending time in environments that had no interest in how you felt about them. She was tall with natural hair and warm eyes, and she looked at Sloane the way Sloane had described, like she was paying full attention, and Maya thought, she's good. Sloane deserves someone good, and also privately. Honestly, of course. At some point in the evening, Maya found herself standing near the bar next to Diana. Both of them watching Sloane across the room, talking to the gallery owner with her hands moving the way they did when she was animated and passionate about something. She's brilliant, Diana said. Not to Maya specifically, just into the air between them. Yes, Maya agreed. Diana looked at her. You're the roommate, across the hall. Maya offered her hand. Maya, Diana, she shook it. A pause. She talks about you. Good things, I hope. Very good things. Diana studied her with the frank attention of a scientist. She said you were the first person who made her feel like, let me get this right, like being yourself is enough, not just a starting point. Maya felt something move through her that she couldn't fully name. She said that? She asked, verbatim. Diana looked back at Sloane across the room. You mattered to her. A lot. A pause. I think you know that. I do. Another pause. I think she matters to you. Also a lot. Diana said it very simply, without weight or judgment, the way scientists state observations. Maya was quiet for a moment. Yes, she said. Diana nodded slowly. Okay, she picked up her wine glass. I appreciate honesty. She said the same thing Maya remembered that she'd said to Sloane. In all its forms. She tilted her glass slightly toward Maya. in a small toast and walked away. Maya stood at the bar and looked at Sloane across the room, laughing now at something the gallery owner had said. Bright and alive and completely herself, and thought, I have to do something. Or I have to let it go completely. But I cannot keep standing in the middle. They walked home together. The city at night in March was cold and damp. The streets wet from an earlier rain, the lights bouncing in the puddles. And Sloane had her hands buried in her coat pockets and her face tipped up slightly like she was trying to absorb the night air. It's sold, she said. Which one? Threshold. She stopped walking. Maya stopped beside her. They were on the corner of 5th and Crescent, a block from home. And Sloane's expression was one Maya had never seen on her before, completely unguarded. Slightly undone, like something had just become real that had only been hoped for. Carson sold it to the Hendricks Group collector. During the show. She just told me, Sloane. I know, Sloane. I know. She laughed, a sound like relief. I know. I keep saying I know, but I don't actually know yet. It doesn't feel real. It's real, Maya said. She took Sloane's face in her hands without thinking about it. The way you do with someone you've known long enough that the gesture isn't an act, it's just true. It's real. You did this. You made something true and beautiful and the world recognized it. That's real. Sloane was very still in her hands, looking at her. Maya, she said quietly. Maya became aware, suddenly, of what she was doing. Sloane's face between her palms, pulled from the night air, the streetlight making everything soft and amber. The two of them standing still on a corner while the rest of the city moved around them. She started to lower her hands. Sloane caught them, held them. Don't, Sloane said. They stood like that for a moment that lasted and lasted. I have to tell you something, Sloane said. Her voice was quiet, careful, like she was handling something fragile. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. And I think Diana, she paused. I think Dinah and I are not going to be. I think I was chasing something with her that I was really trying to figure out closer to home. Maya was very still. Sloane, let me finish. She held Maya's hands against her face. When you asked me no, when I asked you in January about what it feels like, about what a woman tastes like, really, I wasn't just asking about women. I was asking about you. And I didn't know how to say that yet because I didn't understand it yet. She searched Maya's face. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think I do, Maya said. Her voice wasn't entirely steady. I want to understand what you understand, Sloane said. I want to know what you know. About wanting. About being seen. A pause. By you, specifically, personally. She took a slow breath. If that's something you, Sloane, Maya said, and she heard her own voice, quiet, certain the voice she used when she was telling the truth. I have wanted this for months. I've been so careful not to want it too much. I've been so careful not to let it cost me what we already have. It won't, Sloane said. It can't. She searched. You're the most essential person in my life. Whatever this is, that doesn't change. You don't know that yet. I know enough. Her fingers tightened around Maya's hands. I know that when I sold Threshold tonight, the first person I wanted to tell was you. I know that I've fallen asleep 3 times on your couch this winter and woken up wishing I didn't have to go back across the hall. I know that when you said my work was extraordinary last month, I held it for days like it was something physical. Her voice was steady but soft. I know what that means. I'm not new to knowing things. I was just new to knowing this. Maya looked at her for a long moment. The city moved around them. A cab moved through a puddle and sent light scattering across the wet street. Okay, Maya said. Okay. Yes. She felt something open in her chest, quiet and enormous. Yes, Sloane, yes. Sloane smiled at her. The real smile, the one that came in all at once without planning. Good, she said. Because I've been terrified you were going to say no. I wouldn't have said no. You might have. For my sake. You're very careful. I'm trying to be less careful, Maya said. I know. Sloane's smile didn't dim. I noticed. They walked the last block home holding hands, which was simple and enormous, and neither of them said anything for most of it. which was right dot in the elevator working. For once they stood side by side and Maya could feel the warmth of Sloane's shoulder against hers. The particular reality of a proximity that had always been this physically close but never like this. Never with this weight and permission. Are you nervous? Maya asked. Yes, you? Yes. That's Sloane considered. That's actually reassuring. Is it? It means it matters. She glanced sideways at Maya. The things that don't matter don't make me nervous. They stood in the hallway outside their respective doors for a moment. The way they had 100 times before, but not like this. Come inside, Maya said. Not a question, but gently, Sloane came inside. Maya's apartment at night was quiet and lamplit. The way she kept it, she'd always had an instinct for making spaces feel like shelter. Sloane had been inside it hundreds of times. She stood in it now like she was seeing it for the first time. Or like she was seeing it correctly for the first time. The difference between knowing the word for something and feeling what it means. Do you want tea? Maya asked from the kitchen and then felt the slight absurdity of the question. No, Sloane said. She crossed the room. No, I don't want tea. She stopped in front of Maya, close, the close they'd been a dozen times before. Except those times hadn't been chosen. Tell me what you want, Maya said. And her voice was very quiet. Sloane reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind Maya's ear. A gesture so tender and so deliberate that Maya felt it all the way through. You, Sloane said. I want to know what everything I've been circling feels like when I stop circling it. It feels like this, Maya said. She leaned forward and kissed Sloane. Softly first. The way first kisses should be careful and real, asking rather than taking. Sloane was still for a moment and then she kissed back, and it was the way Maya had described it. Like a language you already spoke, hearing it read aloud for the first time. Like something landing where it was always supposed to land. They broke apart slightly. Sloane's eyes were open, searching, present. Oh, she said quietly. Yeah, Maya said. I know. Maya. Her name in Sloane's mouth like that waited. Certain was something Maya filed alongside the important things. The things she would keep. I've got you, Maya said. Okay, I've got you. I know you do. Sloane exhaled. I know you do. That's the whole thing. That's been the whole thing all along. Maya pulled her close and Sloane came willingly. And they stood in the middle of Maya's living room held together, not moving, just present to it to this. To the arrival of something they'd been walking toward from different sides of a long road. Maya woke to the sound of rain again, for a disoriented moment she didn't know what was different. Then she became aware of warmth beside her, Sloane, asleep on her side, one arm across the pillow above her head, dark hair loose, breathing slow and even. They'd fallen asleep talking. Eventually, the way you do when a conversation goes too deep to. Stop and exhaustion makes a decision for. Maya lay still and watched her sleep. For a moment that felt almost too tender to be inside, then Sloane opened her eyes. And found Maya looking at her. Hi. Sloane said. Hi, it's raining. Again. It was raining the day you moved in, Sloane said. She was still waking up, her voice low and soft with sleep. I remember. You were standing in your doorway with a towel. I remember too. She stretched slow and cat-like. That feels like a long time ago. 5 months. 5 months. She looked at the ceiling. I knew that day, I think. That you were going to matter. What did it feel like? Sloane turned her head to look at Maya. Like something familiar, she said. Like she'd said it before that first time. Like I'd already met you somehow. Maya felt the echo of it, the same echo she'd felt that November day. She reached over and tucked a strand of hair off Sloane's face, the way Sloane had done to her the night before, returning the gesture, trading it back. What happens now? Sloane asked. Whatever we want, Maya said. That's the thing about starting from honesty. You get to decide. I want breakfast, Sloane said. And then I want to know everything. She paused, finding the shape of it. I want to do this right. I've never done this before. With a woman. With someone who matters this much. I want to learn it. It's not so different, Maya said. It's just more honest. Tell me. Sloane settled in, attentive. Tell me how. Maya looked at her, this woman who had opened her door on a rainy day and offered a towel and made coffee. Strong and right, and asked questions with her whole self and painted what she couldn't say and had the courage to name. In the middle of a gallery on a March night, what she finally understood about herself. You start by staying, Maya said. By deciding the other person is worth the confusion and the learning and the fear. By choosing them again every morning even when it's not easy. That sounds simple. It is. And it isn't, but mostly it is. Sloane was quiet for a moment, considering. Then she said, I'm staying. I know, not just this morning. I know, Sloane. I want you to know. I do know. Maya smiled. I know. Sloane texted Dinah that afternoon. Maya was in the kitchen making actual breakfast eggs. Toast, the good coffee, and she could hear Sloane in the living room, typing and then pausing and then typing again. When she came into the kitchen, she put her phone face down on the counter and sat at the table. I told her, she said. How did she respond? She said. Sloane looked at the table and then up at Maya with a small, complicated smile. She said, I know. I've known since the gallery. Tell Maya she owes me nothing and that I'm rooting for you both. Maya stood very still with the spatula in her hand. She said that, verbatim. Sloane leaned her chin on her hand. She's a very perceptive person. She is. I feel, Sloane considered. I feel like I handled that badly. The Dinah thing. I was chasing understanding in the wrong direction and she got caught in that, and that wasn't fair to her. Did you tell her that? Yes. What did she say? She said figuring yourself out is messy and the important thing is you do it honestly. A pause. I think she was somewhat relieved, actually. I think she could feel it wasn't quite right either. Maya brought the eggs to the table and sat across from Sloane. She's generous. She is. Sloane picked up her fork. I hope she finds what she's looking for. She will. Someone like that always does. They ate in the comfortable quiet that had been theirs for months. But colored differently now, the same and not the same. The way everything was going to be for a while, familiar and new at once. The ordinary made extraordinary by the simple fact of choosing it clearly. Spring came quickly after that. The way it sometimes does in the city, a sudden turning. The trees on Crescent Street deciding all at once that it was time. And the sidewalks full of people were learning how to be outside. Sloane and Maya were learning each other. This is what that looked like. It looked like Sloane discovering that Maya sang quietly to herself while she cooked and didn't realize she was doing it. It looked like Maya discovering that Sloane couldn't make decisions in restaurants and needed someone to simply choose for her, which Maya found endearing rather than frustrating because it was so contrary to the confidence Sloane projected about everything else. It looked like Sloane bringing her coffee at 8 in the morning and sitting on Maya's bathroom counter while Maya got ready for work, talking not about anything, about everything, the seamless continuing conversation they'd been having since November, now inflected with the new intimacy of Weir. Choosing this style, it looked like Maya going to Sloane's studio and sitting in the paint smelling quiet watching her work. Not talking, just present. And Sloane sometimes stopping to look at her with the expression she reserved for things she was trying to understand. And Maya not asking what the expression was for, because she already knew. It looked like walking. They walked everywhere that spring the city is. Good for walking when you want to be close to someone, without having to look at them directly all the time in the conversations they had on those walks, are the kind you can only have in motion, moving through the world while the world moves through you. Ideas and histories and questions, handed back and forth like something being built together. It looked like this. Maya stopping in front of a window display somewhere in April and saying, I love that color, pointing at something rust orange and impractical. And Sloane looking at it and then looking at Maya and saying, it looks like you, and then not explaining what she meant. And Maya not asking her to explain because she understood. It looked, in other words, like love, the real and ordinary and extraordinary thing. There was a night in April when they were lying on the living room floor, Sloane's living room this time, which Maya had come to think of as an extension of her own, and Sloane was quiet in the way she sometimes went quiet. The going inside herself quiet, and Maya had learned to wait. Can I tell you something? Sloane said eventually, always. I've been thinking about, she paused, about why it took me so long. To understand this about myself. She was staring at the ceiling. I think I knew. I think I've known in pieces for a long time. There were women before in my 20s who I felt something for and just, she shook her head. Translated it into something else. Called it admiration or envy or friendship and moved on. That's very common, Maya said gently. I know. But it's strange to realize now how much energy I put into the translation. Into finding the version of the feeling that fit the shape I was supposed to want. She turned her head to look at Maya. Did you do that? When you were young? No, I went the other direction. I recognized it early and then spent a while being afraid to say it out loud. But I never managed to translate it into something else. It was always too clear. That must have been hard in its own way. It was. Maya turned to face her. And then it wasn't. Once I stopped being afraid of it, it was just mine. It was just who I am. I want that, Sloane said. I want to get to the other side of it and just have it be mine. You will. Maya reached over and took her hand. You're already there. You just don't know it yet. Sloane looked at her interlocked fingers with Maya's for a moment. I want to paint this, she said. Not literally. Just this. The feeling of having someone and knowing it and not being afraid of what it means. What does it mean? It means I'm not lost anymore, Sloane said. I was lost and I didn't know it and now I'm not. She turned her head. That's you. You did that. You did that, Maya said. I was just here. You were exactly here. Exactly where I needed someone to be. She smiled slow and real. Right across the hall. Maya laughed softly. Right across the hall. Best real estate decision either of us ever made. I'll say. Not everything was easy, this is important. Stories about falling in love sometimes make it seem like the recognition is the whole story, like once you've named the thing, it becomes uncomplicated. But recognition is only the beginning. The actual work of loving someone, the sustained choosing of it. The navigating of two distinct human beings. Who have both had full lives and opinions and wounds and habits, that's where it gets real. There was an argument in. It started over something small the way most real arguments do. Small things being the form that larger fears take when they want to come out. Sloane had made plans without telling Maya a weekend trip to her college friend's wedding upstate, which she'd known about for months and had somehow just not thought to mention, and Maya had found out by accident, overhearing a phone call, and had felt the specific cold shock of realizing you were less central to someone's life than you believed yourself to be. I didn't think it was relevant, Sloane said. Which was the wrong thing to say. You didn't think it was relevant to tell me you'd be gone for 3 days? I mean, I didn't think about it. She stopped, hearing herself. That came out wrong. Which part? All of it? Sloane sat down. I'm sorry. I might do that. I live in my own head and I don't always, she gestured vaguely. I forget that people need to be included in the facts of my life. Maya sat down across from her. She took a breath. I know you didn't mean it as a statement about how much I matter to you, she said carefully. I'm trying to hear it that way. But she paused. I've been hurt before by people who treated me like an afterthought. And when I found out like that, overhearing, I felt it. Sloane looked at her with the full weight of her attention, the way she looked at paintings she was trying to understand. I hear you, she said. I'm not dismissing that. I just need you to also hear that it came from absent-mindedness, not indifference. You're the opposite of an afterthought. I know that logically. But it still hurt. They were quiet for a moment. Outside, the May Street was full of the sounds of early summer evening. Can we make a deal? Sloane said, what kind of deal? When I do things like that, and I will. Because I'm wired this way and I'm working on it, can you tell me directly the way you just did? Instead of, she made a gesture. Carrying it. I'll try, Maya said. And when I carry things instead of saying them, will you ask? Yes, then we have a deal. Sloane reached across the table. Maya took her hand. We're going to be bad at this sometimes, Sloane said. Both of us, I know. And we're going to be very good at it most of the time. I know that too. Okay. Sloane squeezed her hand. Then we're okay. We're okay, Maya confirmed. They were. Summer came and the city became beautiful and difficult at once, the way it does. And Sloane and Maya moved through it together. They went to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, and Sloane bought things she didn't know how to cook, and Maya, who didn't know how to cook, taught her. Sloane was an enthusiastic and imprecise cook who made things that sometimes went wrong in interesting directions. And Maya found this charming in a way she couldn't entirely account for. They went to galleries on Sunday afternoons, and Sloane talked about everything they saw, freely, with the expertise of someone who had spent years learning the language of visual art. And Maya listened and asked questions and felt the pleasure of entering someone else's expertise, of being shown the world through eyes that saw it differently than yours. They went to the beach one weekend in July. They lay on their towels in the loud, gorgeous heat, and Sloane wore sunglasses and fell asleep within 20 minutes, and Maya watched the ocean and felt something that she would later identify, turning it over in her mind on the drive home as, this is what I was missing. Not in the dramatic way, not the thunder, not the big moment. Just this. Someone beside you in the ordinary light. There was a night in July when they were on the fire escape with wine, which was their new summer version of lying on the floor, and Sloane said, out of what seemed like nowhere, my mother wants to meet you. Maya looked at her. What did you tell your mother? I told her I'm in love with my neighbor. Sloane said it completely casually, reaching for her wine. And that she's brilliant and generous and the most careful person I've ever met, and also that she's a woman. Maya was very still for a moment. What did your mother say? She said, is she good to you? And I said, yes, completely. And she said, then bring her to dinner. Sloane looked at her. Simple. Not everyone's mother is like that. I know. I'm lucky. She paused. Was your mother? She said, I know, before I even finished telling her, Maya said. Like she'd been waiting for me to catch up to something she already knew. Sloane smiled. They sound similar. They might get along. God, could you imagine? Sloane laughed. Two women who already knew everything before we told them. Comparing notes, Maya laughed too, the easy full laugh she'd started to have more of since January. Terrifying, completely. Sloane bumped her shoulder. Will you come to dinner? Yes, Maya said. Of course I'll come to dinner. Good. Sloane leaned her head on Maya's shoulder. She's going to love you. You can't know that. I know her. And I know you. She tilted her head to look up at Maya. You're impossible not to love. I say that from experience. Maya pressed a kiss to the top of her head. I love you too, I know. She could feel Sloane's smile against her shoulder. I know you do. This is what being in love with Sloane Avery felt like, according to Maya Rivera, who was still not great at talking about herself but had gotten better. It felt like walking into a room you'd been looking for and finding it exactly as you'd imagined, somehow. Despite never having described it to yourself, it felt like the particular ease of someone who accepts you without project, who doesn't have a version of you in their head that they're waiting for you to become, but who wants the version you already are. It felt like the afternoon light in Sloane's studio. The way it came in at 4 o'clock in the summer and turned everything gold adjacent. And Sloane working with her back to the window, paint-stained and absorbed, and Maya at the table with her laptop half open and mostly forgotten, watching the light on her without saying anything because some things don't need to be said to be real. It felt like being someone's first call, first thought, first audience. Like being trusted with the early drafts, not just the finished public self, but the rough sketches, the discarded attempts, the things that hadn't become anything yet. It felt like being learned. Like being someone else's education, which is frightening until you realize you're also theirs. That you're learning each other simultaneously. That this is what love actually is. Two people becoming native speakers of each other. It felt. In the end, the way she described it to Sloane on that January Sunday, before either of them knew they were already in the middle of it, like a language finally read in the original. Like something landing where it was always supposed to land. The Millbrook Gallery gave Sloane a solo show in October. This time there was no question. This was Sloane's evening. Her work, her world, but Maya was part of it. Not as an accessory, not as a guest, but as someone whose presence was assumed. Central, woven in, the new paintings were different from anything before. They had the same slowness, the layered color, the depth, but there was something more personal in them, more willing to be seen. They were called, collectively, What I Learned. Maya had seen most of them in progress. She'd been there for the uncertainty and the breakthroughs. The day Sloane stood in front of the canvas and felt it wasn't working, and the day she stood in front of it and knew it was. She'd made dinner on the late nights and brought coffee on the early mornings, and given opinions when asked, and held opinions when they weren't. She'd been present fully, without diminishing herself to do it. That had been the learning. For both of them, the show opened on a Friday evening and the gallery was full. Sloane was extraordinary in it, at ease in a way that was new, talking to collectors and critics and strangers about her work with an openness that Maya could see was connected to the openness she'd found in herself over the past year. The paintings were bought. The reviews the following week would be generous. The trajectory of Sloane's career would turn irreversibly in the direction of arrived, but Maya, standing in the corner of the gallery at one point in the evening with a glass of wine, wasn't thinking about any of that. She was watching Sloane across the room, talking to a young couple, gesturing at a painting the way she always gestured when she was in the middle of something that mattered to her, with her whole body involved, her hands moving, her face entirely open. And she was thinking about a rainy November morning 5 months before that night, and a towel offered across a hallway and the particular way some things begin, not with fanfare, not with the dramatic moment, but with the simple, generous act of one person opening their door and saying, "Here. She's looking for you," said a voice beside her. Maya turned. It was Carson Webb, the gallery owner, champagne in hand, watching Sloane with a professional eye. Is she? Every few minutes she checks where you are. I've noticed it all evening. Carson looked at Maya with the considering gaze of someone who has spent decades looking at things carefully. It's very affecting, actually. That kind of orientation. It's what the paintings are about, I think. Maya looked back at Sloane, who had just glanced toward the corner and found her. Sloane's expression didn't change in any theatrical way. It just settled the way expressions do when the thing they've been looking for is found. Maya lifted her glass slightly. Sloane smiled. Yes, Maya said quietly. I think you're right. After the show, they walked home the same way they had after the group show in March, through the night city. The October air cool and clean, holding hands on the same streets. But different. Everything the same and different. Did you hear what the critic from the Tribune said? Sloane asked. She was fizzing with it, contained happiness. The kind she had where she held it close rather than broadcasting it. I heard. She said the new work had, I don't know the exact words. She said it had the quality of someone who had learned to trust their own subject matter, Maya said. And that the vulnerability in it was not performed but structural, built into the way the layers work. Sloane stopped walking. Maya stopped beside her. You memorized it. I wrote it down on my phone right after she said it. Maya was entirely unembarrassed about this. So I could tell you exactly what she said. Sloane looked at her for a long, still moment. The street lamp above them threw a circle of amber on the wet October sidewalk. The city around them was doing its evening things. I love you, Sloane said. Not for the first time. They'd been saying it for months, but with a weight that recognized all the months it had been building toward, all the steps that had led here. I love you in a way I didn't have words for before. I love you specifically, exactly, for everything you are. Maya felt it, the thing that had been growing in her since November. Since a rainy day and a towel and coffee made strong and right. Since a Sunday in January and an honest question. Since a gallery in March and a street corner and the particular sound of her name said with certainty. She felt it the way you feel something when you've been waiting for it long enough, with relief and recognition and the specific joy of arrival. I love you, she said. I've been loving you since January. Possibly since November. Possibly since the moment you opened your door in paint-stained sweatpants and told me the elevator was broken every third Tuesday. Sloane laughed, sudden and complete. That's very romantic. I think so. She kissed her there on the sidewalk. The way you kiss someone when you're not performing anything, no audience, no significance to mark. Just the person and the feeling and the choice made simply and quietly, and again. Then they walked the last block home, still holding hands. The city around them ordinary and extraordinary at once. The morning of the first anniversary of the day Maya moved in. It rained. She was already awake when it started. Lying in the bedroom that had become their Sloane had moved across the hall in August. Or more accurately, the hall between them had gradually stopped mattering, and the formality of having two apartments had started to seem like a technicality. Listening to the sound of it on the window, Sloane was still asleep beside her on her side. Arm above her head, Maya looked at her for a moment in the gray morning light. The way she'd looked at her on the first morning, except that now she knew everything she'd been looking at then, the dream that made Sloane's hand twitch sometimes. The way she surfaced from sleep all at once rather than gradually. The particular quality of her silence that meant she was thinking versus the silence that meant she was at peace. She knew. She'd learned, that's what a year of loving someone looks like, 1,000 small knowledges. Accumulated carefully, held with both hands, she got up quietly. Made coffee in the kitchen 4 minutes for the hot water. She still timed it and stood at the window looking down at Crescent Street, rain dark and beautiful. The trees stripped bare by November now as they'd been when she arrived. She thought about the person she'd been a year ago, careful. A little armored, lonely in the specific way that comes from being mostly fine. Carrying something she'd learned not to name too directly, she thought about the first morning, the towel. The voice saying you look like you swam here. She thought about everything between then and now, the coffee on the floor. The Friday evenings, the 3 a.m. text. The January question that had changed the air between them. Threshold selling on a March night. The walk home, hands interlocked. The first kiss in the lamplight. The argument in May and the making of deals. The fire escape and the summer wine. The October gallery and the critic's words and the October street. She thought, I was walking toward this the whole time. I just didn't know where it was yet. She heard Sloane wake up, that all at once surfacing, and then the sound of her coming into the kitchen. And then the warmth of her arms coming around Maya from behind. Her chin on Maya's shoulder, both of them looking out at the rain. It's raining, Sloane said. 1 year ago today, HM. She held her tighter. You came home in that rain. Is that what I did? That's what I think of it as. You came home. She paused. To the building, I mean. And also she stopped. Also, Maya agreed. They were quiet for a moment, the rain against the glass. The coffee smell and the morning quiet and the warmth of being held. I was going to ask you something, Sloane said. What's that? A pause. Maya felt her take a slow breath. I was going to ask if you wanted to stop pretending we live in 2 apartments when we clearly live in 1. Maya was quiet for a moment. Are you asking me to move in with you? I'm asking you to stop not being moved in with me, which feels more accurate. Maya laughed, the easy, full laugh she'd found this year. The lease? I've already looked at the lease. We can consolidate. She pressed her face against Maya's shoulder. I don't want there to be a version of my address that doesn't have you in it. Maya turned in her arms to face her. Sloane was still sleep-soft, hair loose, wearing the oversized sweatshirt she'd been wearing the first morning Maya had met her, which she'd had so long the lettering on it was faded to nearly nothing. She looked at her and felt home. Yes, she said. Okay, yes. Sloane's smile was the real one, the sudden one, the one that came all at once without planning. Good, she said. I'll make breakfast. You pick what we watch. I always regret the movie I pick. I know. I like watching you regret it. She kissed her quickly and moved toward the kitchen. Eggs or French toast? French toast. I'll burn the edges. I know. Maya leaned against the counter and watched her. I don't mind. Outside, the rain kept falling on Crescent Street, and the trees stood bare against the gray November sky. And an apartment 4B or 4A or both or neither. Or simply home 2 people made breakfast together in the unhurried morning of a life they had chosen.